Hello, and welcome to Guys Dealings with Feelings, the podcast dedicated to addressing men's mental health issues and providing practical solutions. My journey has been profoundly shaped by the tragic loss of my son, and through this experience, I've gained valuable insights. I'm here to share what I've learned and continue to discover along the way. If you find this podcast helpful, please like, share, subscribe, and follow us wherever you're listening. Following us and your 5-star rating can make a significant difference in spreading our message and potentially changing someone's life. So today I'm so happy and grateful to have Shane Jacob with me. Shane has traveled a road from incarceration to certified life coach, professional horseman, entrepreneur, and author. Today we're going to dive into his story and how it shaped him into the man he is today. I'm excited to hear how Shane turned his life around and the tools that he teaches others, which include horses, if I'm not mistaken. Shane, thank you so much for being with me today.
Aaron, hey man, I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate your show, and the necessity of it is just so it speaks very loudly to me, and I know to your listeners that you have a you have an excellent message.
Well, thank you so much, man. I'm trying. I know it's always suck it up, Buttercup. Like just push it down, and that's been I think a misstep we've taken in as a human race. So, man, I'm excited to get to know you. I know that it's been a long way from incarceration to being what seems to be in a great place in life. So we can get to know you a little bit. Can you give us some of your story and how you've landed in this moment in your life?
Yeah, appreciate that. So, I started out, and in retrospect, when I was a young man, what I mean by that is a teenager and into my 20s, I was just going about my life, and for whatever reason, you know, and I'll just say that I didn't experience most of the trauma in my life is trauma that I created for myself and other people.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened to me that I can say, hey, that's the reason. I can't pin what was happening to me on anybody but me. And so what was happening as I was a young man, I just had these thoughts. And you know what they were? They were things, they were just, my mind was talking to me saying, hey, you're not good enough. You're not the same. You're not as good as. You're lesser than. Like something's wrong with you. When I really tried to fit in, I was in sports. I did pretty good. I was part of groups and my grades were okay. I was really trying to, I don't know, to fit in and to be okay, but I just didn't, I had no idea if I was okay or not. And whatever was happening, which, I think to some degree, well, I know to some degree it happens to a lot, but it happens to all of us. But at that time in my life, it seemed to be these thoughts. I was super shy, and I just I didn't know if I was okay, and how this whole life was going to go and what was going to happen. And I was out. I remember before a high school dance. I'm 14 or 15. No, I was 15 or 16. I don't remember what my exact age was. It doesn't matter. But I was out with a group of guys, and I thought, and they started drinking. They had some alcohol. And so I kind of succumbed to the peer pressure and tried that. And you know what I, what I found is that, hey, I felt better. As a
Mm-hmm.
matter of fact, all this stuff that I was listening to, this chatter in my mind about my own value, it stopped. I mean, that felt pretty good. I continued to, drink here and there, and and eventually, in part because of these thoughts that I was having and the feelings that were being created, eventually I became a problem drinker, and it didn't take very long until I was a full-blown alcoholic, and I mean a professional. I mean, I was 100%er. I didn't miss any days for over 20 years.
Wow.
Okay. Well, with the exception, 2 days in over 20 years, those 2 days when I was hospitalized. I mean, for real.
Wow.
And I mean, drinking to excess. I mean, drinking to excess. I mean, like sloppy, almost falling down drunk on a daily basis. And it was a progression. Um, it was a progression, but it progressed to a pretty unpleasant looking state.
I can only imagine. But it started with numbing numbing the whatever the voice was, the doubting voice.
Yeah. I I didn't know what the solution was. I just knew it felt better. The thing of it was is I felt better when I was drinking, so like I said, in part, some of it was just bad behavior, but I believe that mostly the main reason I continued to drink is just that because I felt better. So I don't feel good about me. Okay. Now, a lot of this is subconscious. It's not like I'm consciously thinking, hey, Shane, you don't feel very good about you today. Go grab a drink and feel better. This is all in retrospect of me analyzing really what was happening because, nobody kind of gives you a manual. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
gives you a manual. And just like you began this show with, I don't know what it's like today to be uh, I think it's changed a little bit from my time because, I'm a little over 50 now. And so we're talking about, 30 years ago when I was a young man. And so, but back then, it's just like you said, and I think today it still is mostly. And is that you just don't talk about that. You know what? My dad, I believe he loved me and my brothers and sisters unconditionally. But I think I was in my 30s before I remember my dad ever saying, I love you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he's a good man. I got nothing against him or the way he raised me, but we just didn't talk about stuff. It was
Mm-hmm.
like there's a problem. It's like, hey, fix the problem, man. The idea that, being men don't want to be perceived as weak. I mean, it's at all costs be perceived as weak. So we just
Mm-hmm.
keep this stuff in. And so all the stuff that's going on, I find a solution and I'm going for the solution. But as it became a problem, okay, and as I became a full blown alcoholic, do you know I did things that I started to create evidence for myself that I was that person that I thought I was going to be. So, in other words, I'm locked up in jail. I look around at all the destruction and pain and suffering that I'm causing other people, which is more evidence for me to see that I have a problem, something's wrong with me,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a tremendous amount of shame and and guilt and the worst part of it was looking at the other people, the impact that what I was doing had on other people, and all this evidence that I could see. It created this terrible cycle that just kept me stuck at the bottom of a bottle, sloppy ass drunk, day in and day out. And unbeknownst to me, I'm living in this alcoholic haze. I kind of thought everything was okay. I mean, I was paying the bills most of the time. I still went to work. I didn't really realize that what everyone else knew. I thought I was kind of hiding it pretty good. And my relationships with my children were disintegrating. My at the time marriage, just I disintegrated it down to nothing by the time I finally sobered up and saw it was way too little, way too late. I mean, it was
Mm-hmm.
gone. And that was a 17-year marriage just destroyed primarily as a result of me not being present and being an alcoholic, because you cannot carry on a healthy relationship when you behave that way.
Mm-hmm.
The way out, I like to say, and the truth of the matter is with the grace of God and the help of horses, I broke the cycle. I was able to break free and have some freedom of this. And the way the thoughts that I have, the thoughts that helped me break free, okay, the the conditioning that I started to give myself, I have seen in my experience, and that's my message to other people, that the way that we feel about ourselves, because we all get to experience shame, right? It's a part of our life. Let me just tell
Mm-hmm.
you something, Aaron and world. I've done some stuff. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can look it up if you need to, but I mean, I've done some stuff, okay? And the thing of it is we've all done some stuff. I don't know,
Sure.
to some degree, right? So we all
Mm-hmm.
get to experience shame is basically we've done some stuff or we have thoughts that we think because of what we have done that we are have a lesser value, okay?
Sure.
And so until we learn, however we learn, if we don't figure out how to manage this and build shame resilience and to move through it and to have ourselves be okay regardless of what we've done, and start learning until we can actually have thought. The thing of it is, I just want to say that the idea about the beliefs that we have about ourselves is the primary driver, and it's going to affect the results of everything that we do and our relationships and our impact in life. And if you can go with me on that and believe it, the thing of it is a lot of times we're like, well, I'm a self-confident man. I can see that guy over there. He's not. See what he's doing? I don't do that. I got confidence a long ways back and I have it and I'm done with that. Now leave me alone. But the
Mhm.
thing of it is that's not how it works. It's not something that you check off the box and that you acquire and it's over. Our beliefs and values about ourselves is a lifelong pursuit, because here's what's going to happen. You're feeling pretty good about yourself, and then all of a sudden either you'll do something or something will happen to you and it'll really hit you to your core, and you might say you may really have to take, it'll shatter your faith about what your beliefs about yourself, and you're going to have to figure out how to work through that and continue to go, and that's kind of how the cycle goes. And I can tell you that if we will, as human beings, if you can understand the value and the power and the freedom and the amount of results that can change with the beliefs and what that we believe about ourselves,
Mhm.
the foundational beliefs that we actually have about ourselves. If we commit to a loving relationship with ourselves, I believe is the key to about most or all of the negative behavior that we're going to do. And the biggest part of it is how it impacts others.
So I love that. I want to dive into all the beliefs. I know there's a couple that you highlight, but I want to dive into all of them. But first, and I'm not asking you to go into any type of deep details. I try on the show not to celebrate several things. I train wrecks are things that people like to look at, and I'm not providing train wrecks. I'm here to provide solutions for people. And so I think that our why. So why am I doing this? Why am I going to um, work on myself? And I'll say this on a lot of shows. I wish it was because of the man in the mirror. I wish we loved ourselves enough as men, or the man in the mirror, to say, "Well, I'm going to do it because of myself, because I'm miserable, I'm unhappy. That's why I'm going to do it." A lot of times it comes down to I want to be a better dad, or a better partner, or a better son, or whatever it is that people come up with is their why. You did a pretty big 180, going from pretty wild, it sounds like. And I understand you weren't really wild. You're getting up and going to work. And I found myself in a very similar situation. I drank every single day for, I don't know if it wasn't quite 20 years, but it was close. And, I was still paying the bills, and I would take care of everything I had to. Now I rushed it so that I could get to the drink, but every evening I was drinking until I was drunk. And so I'm very familiar with what you're talking about. But by the grace of God, I did keep I learned some things in college where I kept my butt at the house, and so I was able to stay out of trouble for the most part. But I know it prevented me from being the best man I could be, for sure. So anyway, I digress. I was just kind of sharing that we share that together. What was your why? Like, what shifted you? What was a hard shift? Was it a life event, or you just said, "Man, I got to be a better dude"? What was it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I won't. I'll give you a little glimpse at the train wreck without having to get into the gory
Yeah, without the
details.
details. Yeah, if it was something, if it was just I was incarcerated because I did something I shouldn't have done, I get that. That's fine. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of folks who go to jail and don't come out with this attitude. So there's more to it. That's kind of what I'm hunting for. Is if it was, well, I found myself in jail, but while I sat there, I said, I ain't never gonna sit here again. That's kind of what I'm looking for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a really good question. I've thought a lot about it, and I'll tell you my experience, my own. Before I do that, I just want to say that, when you look at what motivates, what drives people to change, when I talk about my big idea of everything being based about our faith and our beliefs in ourselves, the motivator for me and what I'm asking you to contemplate listening to this show is that it is not possible for you to give more than what you believe about yourself. I used to people would say to me that, well, you can't love anybody else more than yourself. And I thought, that's bull. I don't believe that for a minute. I can love whoever I want to, and that has nothing to do with me. I didn't understand that. I won't really unpack that, but I can tell you it's a fact.
Hmm.
And so the driving motivator for me, and maybe I'm asking, like I said, you to consider this, is that without you loving you, without you really believing in yourself. Without, what I mean by that is having forgiven yourself, having respect for yourself, and having truly a loving relationship with yourself. Without that, you lack the ability to give and have all the capacity to give to the people that you care most deeply about. And you also lack the capacity to make your full contribution and contribution to the world while we are here on this short time. So I ask you to consider that. You know, back to your original question, this is also, they talk, I hear about people and I contemplate myself. It's like, what drives, do you really have to hit the bottom? I mean, do we all have to hit the bottom? And occasionally I see people, that don't. My nephew, he has been up close to a drug problem for most of his life. Okay. Up
Mm-hmm.
close. And he
Mm-hmm.
looks and he sees the results and he makes differences. He makes changes in his life based on he's like, I don't want to have that happen. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we all kind of do that to some degree. But a lot of us, and a lot of times, if we're not intentional, we just keep getting the little result back to me. Okay. I'm still feeling a little bit better. I'm waking up every day and I'm saying to myself, you got to stop this because to some degree I knew that there's a problem, for hell's sakes. I'm getting to where I'm not even getting out of bed until 11:30 in the morning and staying up later and drinking more progressively over months and months and months. I build up my resistance to where I'm drinking, in excess of 24 beers every 24 hours. Why do we have to hit bottom? And if we're intentional and take a look around a lot, I'm just suggesting that maybe we don't have to,
Mm-hmm.
Some of us do. When I got there, I was, one of the big drivers for me, I was approaching 50 and I'm like, man, I am 50. I can't believe I'm still living this life. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I mean, I was drinking so much. I was on a show with the doctor and she's like, you're a medical marvel. I mean, just to be able to drink that much for so long without having more physical. I just thought like, I'm like, maybe I got a year or two left. I don't know, but I'm going to die drunk in some ditch somewhere. Nobody's even going to give a shit. And that's going to be the end of my mark here on earth. And it bothered me a lot because I
Mm-hmm.
knew that my health was declining so fast. I also I had an event where the law was involved again, and my marriage was right on the cusp. Like I said, I didn't really realize it until one day it just came blaring in at me, and I thought, oh wow, I've been living in this alcoholic haze, and I had no idea that things had progressed so far, or didn't progressed. The deterioration had progressed, that
Mm-hmm.
my marriage the relationship was just so far gone. There was no more, my then wife had no more willingness to even to try to participate, and I don't blame her. I mean, for
Mm-hmm.
hell's sakes, I can't believe she stuck around as long as she did. And so with that, I diminished my ability to learn, my ability to progress, and I looked around me, and it's like I got the law coming back, I got my marriage going down, my business is going down, and it's like I must do something. And I didn't know if I could do it. I thought about this decision for a long time. I thought for 8 or 9 months. I thought, and I thought, and I thought. I'm like, how am I going to do this? Am I going to fail? I'm looking around, and all I can see is relapse, and you go to an AA meeting, and all I could hear was how many times that you've relapsed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't know if I could do it, but the one thing that I did know is that I had enough faith in myself that I knew that I could give it everything that I had, and I knew that what I had was substantial. And so finally one day I planned it for that day, and I exercised my courage that morning. I woke up still three quarters, still probably a little bit intoxicated from the night before, and I drove myself to a detox place because I was really concerned that this coming off this alcohol physically was going to give me a seizure, and I could die. So that's kind of what happened there.
Okay. So it sounds like you had a little confidence left in the tank there, just enough to get you over the end. I sure am glad you did. I know I had to hit rock bottom as well. I'm glad you shared that. I don't, as a human race, we don't have to go that far. I know that a lot of us do end up doing it though, and I'm glad you were able to bounce back. And so, on the turn and on the shift, you've done what I like to talk about as turning your rock bottom into your foundation. and you really made that your launching point, and you said never again, and that's awesome. Something that I know you are big on is confidence, and you talked about it in the beliefs and believing in yourself, and I'm always working on having more confidence. I come off confident in all situations, but there are some situations that I avoid because I know I'm going to be the odd guy out, or I'm going to be in the quote unquote weakest one in the room, whether that is knowledge wise or whatever. And so I may avoid those, and that's not good, because to grow, we need to put ourselves in some micro positions. So while it's something I made some ground on, I feel like I'm always needing to remind myself of things that I've accomplished. I'm illogical, as most men are. We need to be we need to prove it. I need to know, why is that. It's to show it to me. So I'm well, Aaron, you've done this and you've done that, and you've been able to accomplish this. So how important is confidence?
Yeah. I talked to a lady named Cheryl Green. I had her on my podcast, and she made a statement that she said that every negative human behavior in all of time at the root is based on a person's self-image. And I thought about that, and I haven't proven that to be untrue. Brooke Castillo is the owner of the Life Coach School, and she has been a life coach for over 20 years and literally coached thousands and thousands and thousands of people. She says at the root of all of her experience, in excess of 20 years of coaching and teaching coaching, that at the root of people's problems, conflicts, and everything is people's personal worthiness. And I have come to believe, based on my story and crawling out from underneath this rock and being able to live a semblance of a life that's totally different, and being able to have from destruction, literally, from um, the pain and suffering that I caused, which, to be able to make a positive impact on some people's lives, it's a tremendous deal. So, and I believe that this is the single most important thing that we can accomplish in our lives. And like I said, it's a vast, this is a big question, because self-confidence is so big. One thing I want to say is just to get the definition, because confidence in a thing, okay, I want to just talk about what confidence is. Confidence in a thing is like me riding a specific horse doing a specific thing. Well, let me tell you something. I've done that thing for a lot of years, hundreds of times on the same horse. I have confidence that I can go out and lope a circle on the left lead with X horse. I am fully confident. I have a very high confidence value in that, right? And
Hmm.
maybe you're pretty confident that you can drive a car, right? You can get in your car and you're
Hmm.
pretty confident you can go down to the grocery store and get whatever and make it home. You're pretty confident. You don't have a lot of negative thoughts rolling around about that. That kind of confidence is based in a skill or ability or a thing, and all that is based on the past. Okay. So we look to
Hmm.
our past to have evidence of how we feel about a thing. Self-confidence is a different thing. This is like you mentioned it just right now in this question. You said, and that is that self-confidence is the emotion of progress. It's the emotion of the future. It's what gives us the ability to propel forward. It also is what gives us the ability to to be able to give to other people, right? Because we can only give to the edge of our own self-confidence. So self-confidence means it's my real beliefs. It's like, at my core, what do I really believe about me, about who I am, about what I've done, about all of that, right? Because that is going to be
Hmm.
what I'm that's going to give me the courage. Okay. When men talk about courage, and women, I guess, I'm sure, but when you hear the word courage, it's like, yeah, it has like a positive connotation. We want to express courage. We respect courage, and we want to have courage. But when you're doing courage, it doesn't feel very good. And it takes
Hmm.
self confidence to be able to exercise your courage. If you have, you know, self-confidence is knowing that you can get beat up, you can fall, you can fail, and you're going to be okay. You can stand up if you're not in a public speaker, and you can stand up and you know the worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to feel bad. You can get on that horse for the first time, and begin to exercise your courage in the thing, in the direction that you want to move. If you're me, you can drive yourself to the detox and you can start saying, hey, today I'm going to exercise. I'm going to give it everything I got today to stay away from that and to make this change. And then I can do it again and do it again and do it again. And the more as I exercise my courage, I increase my capability. As I increase my capability, I'm building up some evidence in the past where eventually I can look to the past to have this confidence and it becomes easier. The difficult part, and the part that really takes for us to change if we want to and to progress, whatever it is going to come from our core beliefs about how we truly deep down how we feel about ourselves. And it is imperative, I believe, that we commit to a lifelong relationships and actually do steps on a daily basis. I'll tell you, Aaron, I used to look, I couldn't even say, hey, I like you. I like me. I like myself. I love you,
Sure.
Shane. There's no way those words could even come out of my mouth in a joking way, you know? But I firmly believe that. I believe I'm okay and I believe you're okay. And I don't think I'm better than you and I don't think you're better than me. I
Hmm.
think that we all have immeasurable value and that we're priceless. And if you can, and it's a process because sometimes I do things and I'm like, oh my, what does that mean about me? Or somebody does something to me and I'm like, wow, what does that mean about me?
Hmm.
And so I have to think and manage and come back to and believe and choose and live intentionally and make these decisions and do things. I have to learn how to, go through shame and have it be okay and know that no matter what it is that you have done. Okay. Are you here? I mean, no matter what it is that you have done, you are still have the equal and same immeasurable value of any other soul that on this earth there is have walked it. And this is a big and important, I believe it's the most important concept and one of the things that we can really do that has a tremendous impact on our results. And the people that we love are the biggest beneficiaries. So if that's not, if you don't know it and you can't believe it, take a look around. I like to give one quick example of, like I said, I couldn't wrap my head around the idea of why I need to feel good about me to take care of somebody else. I'm like,
Hmm.
huh? What do you mean? I didn't really grasp it until I heard this story. A mother has a toddler. The toddler spills food on the carpet. She blows up. She yells, she screams, she might even call him names. She throws stuff, she cleans. And she walks away from this event. She goes in her bedroom. She looks at herself in the mirror and she's like, you suck. You can't hold your shit together. You're a terrible mother. And she goes on and on. She does this for days. The next little while later, the same kid spills food on the carpet. You know what she does? She blows up again. Okay.
Hmm.
Here's mother two. Mother two has another toddler, same age. Toddler spills the food on the carpet. You know what she does? She says, I love you, honey. Stuff happens. Let's see how we can not have that happen again. Help me clean it up. She walks away from that event. She goes in her bedroom. She looks in her mirror and she says, you're pretty awesome. You forgive your kid. You give them grace. They're imperfect. You're imperfect. And this is, and you're a great mother. You're a great mother. And so what she is telling her is coming out of her. Mother one that continued to yell at herself, that comes back out in ways that are not even conscious. It's as a result of what we truly in our core believe about ourselves. And the thing of it is let me just ask you this, Aaron. What if it was possible for you to believe anything you wanted about you?
Yeah. I know. And it's hard to get that across to people like that, that's what it takes. And it's not a difficult concept. It's difficult implementation. And it blew my mind when changing how you perceive and believe changes everything. And when you look at it logically, what you just described, the self fulfilling prophecy of negativity, right? So I'm a bad person. I do bad things, proceed to do bad things, and feel like you're a bad person. Cycle repeats, and we keep doing it. So we got to break that cycle. How specifically to the core beliefs, and I was waiting, as you were talking, I was thinking, yeah, I mean, our core belief is such a big driver in who we are and how we're going to perceive things. So can you share some of maybe how you guys can get someone to change that. Like, how do I? For me, we'll just use me as an example. So, my father wasn't involved in my childhood, and so I have this core belief of, I'm not loved, right? And so obviously that chips straight away at confidence. And so, how would you tell somebody like a younger me how to gain some confidence?
We have 6 steps in at the horsemanship journey. We use horses to demonstrate the principles that we use, but in building confidence, um, there's skills. It's a skill set. It's like if you commit to it, it is possible for you to learn, and we can change our beliefs. Bev Aaron is a certified master life coach, and she said that a belief is a thought that we hold in our mind that we continue to prove to be true, just like what you were just talking about. So the steps that we use, you can begin. I'll just give you some takeaways. Okay, so
Yeah, that's great.
begin with the easy one. Here's an easy one. Oh, I just dropped that. Oh man, I am such a klutz. I am such an idiot. I can't believe I do stuff like that. I mean, look at me. So the first thing is thought. Your words and your thoughts about yourself matter. Okay, and that we talk sometimes. We like to make jokes about ourselves, and I think that we can give ourselves a little bit of latitude with an occasional joke. But even if you overdo the self-deprecating humor, those words that you're talking about yourself, they are going to come out in a reality, in they're going to end up as results of your life. So
Hmm.
here's the measure, okay, that we suggest that you use. If these are thoughts, okay, first of all, just to become aware. A lot of times people who do this, and I've done it, and so I know, if I begin to have the awareness and I catch myself saying, is that something that I want to think or say about me? Here's the measure. Here's what you measure it against. Here's your bar to measure. Is this something that I would say to someone that I deeply care about, that I deeply love? Yes or no? Because if the answer is no, you for sure don't want to be saying it about yourself. Okay. And this is a big one, and it's important. And a lot of times, we don't really, you might not think it is. It might be okay because you might be like thinking that you're embracing your humanity or something. But words, like uh,
Yeah, I'm an
all
idiot, or
kinds of things,
yeah, I'm an
all
idiot. You're
kinds of
stupid. Yeah.
all of that. Yeah.
Hmm.
You don't want to say any of that. And so that's the measure. If you wouldn't say it to somebody else that you love. The next thing is forgiveness. Okay. Forgiveness. And I mean, that's between you and God. Uh,
Hmm.
and forgiveness is really something that, but forgiveness for ourselves, I will say a little bit about that. And that is that I mentioned earlier that that it doesn't matter what you have done, because the usually the problem that we get into, and that I got into, is thinking that what I had done equaled what I was. So
Hmm.
if we can separate what I did with who I am, then if you can separate that and take a look at it and just realize to yourself, hey, I'm an imperfect human being, I've done those things. And rather than use that as a measure, to use that as part of a belief system that defines who I am, if I separate that, I can still be okay over here, even though I did something that I don't want to do again in the future. Now
Hmm.
I need to deal with this shame resilience. I need to find somebody, Aaron, that I can trust. Okay. Rather than keep all this stuff bottled up and try to just suck it up and swallow it and hold it in, I need to find somebody that has earned my trust, that I know that I can trust, and I need to own that thing that I did. Okay. As part of this shame resilience, I need to own it for myself, and then I need to share it with somebody that I can trust. And in that process, if I separate it, and then I work through the guilt and the shame of what I've done, but separating it is the first step. Okay. And then I can let it go, because here's the deal with that. You're not going to be able to forgive other people, and they need to be forgiven just like we do ourselves, because you're not, you can say you can, but until you fully let go of what it is that inside of you, okay, whatever that little thing is, maybe you did this, maybe it's a bankruptcy, maybe you did something, And if you're
Mhm.
still holding on to a little bit of that shame or a little bit of that guilt, the next step is to get it out of there, just to be able to go through the steps to be able to let it go.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you
I
one more thing.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah,
When
please.
Give me one more thing. We have 6 steps. I can just give you one more. Stephen Covey called it "Make a promise, keep it." Make a promise, keep it. This is a thing. So, discipline is a thing. So, usually, man, we can take a hold of discipline and go for it because it seems hard. But a lot of times it seems hard, so, it sounds good, but we really don't wanna do it. But if we the I suggest that we take close consideration to what we tell ourselves that we're gonna do. So, example, if I say I'm waking up at 5 a.m. from here on out, and tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. comes, and I'm just like, I hit the snooze and hit the snooze. Or if I'm gonna work out 4 days a week, and I don't, I can't be somebody that I don't count on, okay? I need to
Mhm.
keep my promises to myself, and so there really is something to this. The discipline isn't, forcing you to do something that you don't wanna do. The discipline I'm talking about is when you commit to something for yourself, do it. Keep it. Don't make up a bunch of excuses or any of that. And so, in the first part, pay attention to what you're telling yourself you're going to do and don't take that lightly. And then when you do, follow through with it, because the result, the difference in this is tremendous. You start to become somebody that's like, hey, I keep my promises. I do what I'm going to say. This is how you feel inside yourself. This has a tremendous impact on your results, how you interact with other people, how you treat other people, because you're not feeling bad about yourself. We have to be able to trust ourselves, and that's how you do it. Make a promise, keep it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. It's a again self-fulfilling prophecy. You make a promise, you keep it, and that's going to stack. Now you look at that and well, I made a commitment, I kept it. That's something I can be confident about. Like I can start building some confidence in myself, letting go and the separating of what I've done and who I am. I love that one as well because we are not just what we've done. We are that's part of, it's what we've learned and maybe what we've done, like you said, there's some shame in there we need to get rid of, but we can learn from that. Don't do that stuff again. Like we did some dumb shit. That does not mean we are that person anymore. We learn from that. So we're better than that person. And then we can know that we learn from that and that we're better. And I'm going to this next question, I'm gonna skip ahead because I we align so much. We could probably go on for several hours because we could bounce off one another. I agree with everything that you've said so far. I think it's integral in the things I talk about as well. But so I want to get to the part that you do that I don't do. I did have some time with some horses in college. My uncle, who was instrumental in my raising, he always has had horses and mules. And so I was around horses. We did a lot of trail riding, but I was young and dumb, and drinking was pretty big part of my trail riding and before, during, and after. And so I didn't experience man, if I could go back and do it again, I had some great experiences. And now my daughter is involved in horse riding. She loves it. She's involved in it. And I can see all the things it's going to teach her. And I'm back around them. But can you kind of share how you guys are using horses um, to help people grow in this specific area we're discussing?
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate. Part of my horse riding for a couple of decades involved a lot of drinking. Also, I'm lucky to be
Hmm.
alive just for that.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so yeah, horses, they help increase the interest, and we end up having more cooperation with people because horses just they demonstrate the principles that we use in our stable living program. And so a couple of those are, of course, confidence. I mean, and that horses react based on what's inside of us, and it is so evident. You can walk into the barn, and if your thoughts are coming on your way, I'm not going to let anybody know, I'm going to put this aside, I'll save it for later. And if you have something rumbling around inside your heart and inside your mind, the secret is out the moment that you come on site, because those horses know. They
Hmm.
know, I'm telling you. They know, and they're reacting to it, you know. So they react to fear, they react to our lack of confidence tremendously. They don't know where they fit in either, and so they're very keyed in on us. And internally, it's amazing what they can, without words, what they can see and what they can determine. And our results, I mean, horses are a relationship, right? It's just like my relationship with you or other people. The relationship that I have with horses, the same thing. It's a relationship. And so they have their own free will and they're going to do what they're going to do. But I have tremendous influence on what they do. And so you can see that. And bad results are come from a lack of confidence. Horses need leadership. They need a confident leader to show up and be there, a confident, respectful leader to show up and be there for them. Because when that isn't the case, then we don't have as good a results, and sometimes we can have terrible results with horses. If we have a lot of fear, then they think they should be afraid, and it goes bad. It's
Mm-hmm.
good time to have flight for life on speed dial. Sometimes it's that it's that serious. Um, One of the other principles I'll give you one other quick example of another principle that we use in horsemanship that horses demonstrate. The third principle that we use in stable living is personal responsibility. Um, so personal responsibility means that I believe that I am responsible and I own all of my results regardless of circumstance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's horses in the wild. I'm going to describe a story of a horse demonstrating personal responsibility, okay? Horses in the wild are in groups, okay? Usually it's a couple of stallions and a lot of mares and or younger colts of varying degrees. There's lots of younger ones and mares and usually a couple of older stallions. So there's a group, okay? Now, if there's a young colt or filly, a younger one, usually a younger one, not always, but if a horse does behavior inside the group that isn't acceptable to the rest of the community, they drive him out. What I mean, drive him out, they'll bare their teeth, they'll threaten to kick him, they'll chase him, they'll move that horse that's not behaving to their standard out of their area. Okay. So horses are prey animals. And so their safety is in numbers. They can protect each other from packs of wolves, coyotes, cats, lions, mountain lions, cougars, and so on. Their safety is in groups. So when they push somebody off to themselves and don't allow them to come back near the group, they're in danger. And I mean, their life's on the line. So let's just think about this, okay? If that horse over there, he has a lot of options, and we can think, let's just put us in that situation, kind of. Let's just say, well, what could that horse's thoughts be? If he says, well, they pushed me out of there, and those other guys were really rude to me, and they don't like me, and that nobody even told me the rules before they threw me out of their group, and I didn't even know. So how was I supposed to know? And it was unfair, and on and on and on, right? And
Yeah.
meanwhile, this horse is like, he's probably dead by now if he keeps this
Right.
line of thought going on, right? He doesn't think any of that. None of that matters. This horse, what his behavior does is, what do I need to do to get back in? The only thing he takes full ownership of this deal and says, I'm in danger. The only thing that matters right now, if I want to make progress, is what do I need to do to get back in. So he does. He changes his behavior. He comes back to the edge of the herd, and he communicates to the rest of the leaders of the herd, usually the mares or a mare. And he does that by putting his head low down to the ground, and he'll walk a line back and forth at the edge of the group, and he'll do things like he'll lick his lips and chew, and he's not eating or anything like that, and he's communicating. He's telling those mares, hey, I'm sorry, man. I will comply. I'll do what you want. I just want to come back to the group. And you know what happens? They let him in. When he communicates, hey, shouldn't have done it, and I'm going to comply, they totally let him back in, and they totally let it go. He's not like, now you're marked for life. It's over. They let him back in, and if this horse misbehaves again, they let him back in. Now apply that to yourself if you can, because it's a great lesson.
No, it's awesome. had an earlier episode where we discussed shame, and we as humans, shame was part of our what we used as a tool as humans for that, because for the same thing, we've got to behave in a society. We must behave, and there are certain ways we can do that, and so yeah, and that's but something that hasn't made it this far is that forgiveness piece too, right? So big of the other group of horses to forgive once this individual has asked for such. And
Horses
so, yes,
truly are
grace. We all need grace.
didn't mean to interrupt
Do
you.
what?
Go.
That's okay. Yeah, grace is such a huge part. We need it. We all need it at some point in our lives. If we hadn't needed it yet, we will get there. I for sure have needed a ton of grace, and so I try to show as much as possible. And so that forgiveness piece. So I wrapping up here. I'm going to be sharing a link to your website, the horsemanshipjourney.com, where listeners can find all the products and services you offer at the horsemanship journey. Can you please share your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube handles, as well as anything else that you would like us to know about what you have going on now or in the future?
Yeah, I appreciate that. We're pretty visible. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, The Horsemanship Journey. And like you said, I just wanted to also say, I do a free video called "You Are Destined for Greatness." That's each week. You can sign up for that for free at
Oh,
thehorsemanshipjourney.com.
that's awesome. And we sure appreciate it, and sure appreciate having you here, and everybody listening. As always, I know your time is your most valuable asset, and I sure appreciate you sharing it with us. We hope we added some value to your day. And until next time, have a great day.
Thanks so much.